Reviewing a very special car. This is a 2016 Aston Martin V8 Vantage S. So this is a 4.7 litre manual, a very rare form of a car. A little bit of insight to the V8 Vantage S. It was released for 2011 model year, with the manual coming in a year later in 2012, running up to 2018 when they stopped production of this shape of Vantage. And yeah, very rare iteration of a car because, well, primarily because it's an S, which there weren't many manuals made, and also being a facelift car, it has the AMI Haptic Dash, which again makes it even more of a rarer car with a manual combination. And yeah, it's just absolutely stunning. This one's finished in silver fox metallic, which is a very striking colour. It's sort of a very flat silver with sort of almost looks creamy. It's really hard to describe, but when you see it in real life, it is a very interesting looking colour, to say the least. But yeah, really nice. Being an S, it has the gloss black body pack, which I've never seen on a Vantage S. Normally these are satin grey, the front and rear bumper inserts, or plastic, you know, or carbon, but it does seem to have gloss black or piano black inserts, which is really nice looking actually. This one's got the optional front parking sensor option and the bright finish front grille, which is really nice. You've also got the bi-xenon headlamps, high intensity discharge with LED DRLs, along with these platinum bonnet mesh vents and side strakes. You've got the 19-inch 5-spoke alloys with this sort of 5 twin-spoke design on the V8 and V8S models for this model year. And the S was a £5,300 premium over the standard 4.7. This gave you an increase of 10 horsepower, so you've got 430 brake horsepower instead of 420. A 10 mile per hour increase in top speed, so 190 up from 180. And you also got enlarged in front slotted 380mm two-piece floating discs. 380mm front discs with two-piece floating calipers, which you know, do give it optimal stopping power for these. And yeah, you had two different variants of this car. You had the Vantage S and the N430, which the N430 is effectively based on the V8 Vantage S's platform. Obviously you've got the lipstick sort of Club Sport graphics pack. The V8 Vantage is more of a sort of sleeper, the S, and yeah, this one's got Bridgestone, or is it, yeah, sort of Potenzas all round, which is really nice. The S also came with quicker ratio steering rack, along with a catalysed sports exhaust system with active bypass valves. So when you put in sport mode, you really do hear the valves opening up. And again, you've got that piano black insert to the rear diffuser again, and the front splitter, which is really nice. You've got the Vantage S badging, which seems to be here in silver, which is quite interesting. And you've got a very nice carpeted boot. If you do take out fuse 15, was it 22, underneath this carpeting, you can jam those valves fully open, which is nice. You've also got the Taylor's grey Alcantara headlining, along with that Alcantara boot parcel shelf, which is really nice. And being a facelift car, you have got the crystal sapphire ECU glass sapphire. This one's got 2 owners of 32,000 miles, and it's in impeccable condition. It is like 99% good in terms of condition. You know, it's really nice. You might find the odd stone chip, but it is really good. And it's got full Aston Martin service history, apart from the last one being specialist. On the interior here, the S has slightly, I think, more bolstered seats with Obsidian full grain black leather, or this is a fast track leather you get. The grained leather, which is nice. Still the Volvo switchgear, which is quite funny. And on the later facelift cars, or not really facelift, but the later cars, you have the standard 700-watt Aston Martin premium audio system. So premium audio was sort of made by Alpine, which is really good system. It's got a very strong sub and a lot of bass when you turn on the sub and treble, which is really good. And yeah, put the key in ignition like this, just to turn the ignition on. And on the interior here, you'll find the 6-speed manual. a relatively uncommon and rare option on these. You had either a 6-speed manual or the later Sport Shift 2 Series 7-speed single clutch robot manual. But having driven both, I would say the manual is definitely a very interesting car to drive. The flywheel is extremely sporty and light, so effectively when you dump the clutch, the RPMs just kick all the way to 0. So you need to be very fast with driver input. You need to go first, basically first, second, you've got to be relatively quick and not too strong at the same time. It does take a bit of skill to use, but yeah, very nice. To start the car up, you hold your foot in the clutch and bring it to life. Very nice. You've got the sport mode here as well, which opens up the valves. And I forgot to mention, the S comes standard with sport suspension, which was about £1,000, over. If you wanted a regular Vantage, that would have cost £1,000. But what I like on this car is the original owner deleted that. So this one has the comfort suspension. You had two options, which were, the comfort suspension and the sport suspension. The comfort suspension was referred to as the V8 Vantage suspension, and the sport suspension was referred to as the V8 Vantage S suspension. So this is a V8 Vantage S with a V8 Vantage suspension, and it is considerably, more comfortable ride. It is. You can notice it's really nice. I've driven the N430 with the sport shift and the sport suspension, and it was a very, quite stiff ride. But yeah, on interior here, we've got the Iridium interior pack, which came on these facelift cars, and the AMI 3 Haptic Dash. I think most of these they're like AMI 2 with a facelift screen. But as far as I'm aware, there was possibly a thing, because it's got Apple CarPlay. I know this has got the AMI 3. I think it was a pack to have a dealer fit option to install the software on the car to integrate Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. So again, this came on the 2016, 2017 cars, maybe on some early 2015 onwards cars with a haptic dash. You'll see that you can actually turn off the force feedback, but when you click the button, it does give you vibrating feedback or pulsing feedback. You've got Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, Bluetooth. In my opinion, the Apple CarPlay is really good on this actually, and I've not used this navigation. I've used my Apple CarPlay maps, but it's a very much more usable system and a lot less laggy. You've got the radio integrated on here now, as you used to have the sort of Volvo looking screen in the middle here with your buttons, and obviously being a manual, it has the deletion of the park neutral, park reverse neutral drive, or if it's a sport shift gearbox on these Vantages, you'll have sport, reverse, neutral and drive. So there's no buttons here at all, and the nice Iridium faceplate, which is lovely. The premium audio would have probably cost around £1,500 on the earlier Vantages, and to have it standard on this car is really nice. You've also got cruise control, which came standard on the later cars. Electric folding mirrors, again, a really nice feature to have. The suede headlining, as you'd expect. Electric memory 3-set seats, which also came on these later cars, as well as heated front seats with 4-way lumbar support. So you've basically got like 10-way electrically adjustable front seats. So it's like 6-way electric, 4-way lumbar, and 2-stage heating. So you've got low, none, or high. And you've also got your ashtray here, a trinket tray with 12-volt socket, front and rear parking sensors, fog lamp button, and your auto headlamps, which is nice, along with your climate controls here, which come up on the dash there. Again, a bit more convenient, and you've got your haptic feedback here for your lights up here. But yeah, you do have to sometimes press the buttons lightly, otherwise they won't work, because they are haptic feedback. But yeah, really nice. You've got your volume switch here, and your main infotainment dial with your hot key menus, radio, nav and Bluetooth. And yeah, just overall really lovely. It's just a gorgeous looking car. You've obviously got, the strengthened or sort of metal bolstering here, sort of like not really roll cage, but it's like chassis strengthening or stiffening, just to stiffen the chassis a bit. I think the S is also up to 80 kilos lighter than the regular car. So yeah, they've done a really good job. The V8 Vantages I've found to be a lot more nimble than the DB models. You can really swing them round corners and stuff. They're phenomenal to drive, especially the manual. I think it's probably one of the best cars I've ever driven, to be honest. And the bonnet, you've got a 4.7 litre naturally aspirated V8 with 430 brake horsepower, so a 10 horsepower jump over a regular car. And from the 4.3s, they had 380 horsepower, so this would have been a 50 horsepower jump over the first Vantage or V8 Vantage. So yeah, really nice. And yeah, again, you've got strut bars for chassis strengthening, and the rigid bars there, which is really lovely. So yeah, you've got basically engine strut bay, and you've got your dry sump oil system, so a high performance sump. It will probably have a baffled oil system as well, so for high G tolerance, you know, when you're going through corners and you don't want the car being starved of oil. So baffled sump and basically dry sump oil system, which is really nice. But yeah, hope you guys enjoyed the video, and let's move on to the test drive now. So guys, today I'll be test driving the V8 Vantage S. So I've driven a sport shift car, but I've got to say the manual is an absolutely phenomenal car to drive. So yeah, start it up. All you do is put your foot in the clutch and then slam down the glass ECU. Put sport mode on, and that just jams the valves open at most RPMs. And yeah, just a lovely car. Obviously forgot to mention, you've got the classic hold fly off handbrake to, you know, get into the car easier. And you've got the Haptic Dash, which is, you know, very usable. The Apple CarPlay's very nice. One thing you'll notice on the manual is the flywheel is very light. It's actually very easy to stall the car, funny enough. But yeah, it's a bit of a funny one, really. But it's very lovely. It just takes a bit of getting used to driving the manual, basically. The sport shift is, you know, obviously a lot easier to use, but I found it quite jerky, to be honest. The manual, you can sort of control how you drive really effectively. But yeah, you've sort of got to be quite quick with your driver input, otherwise, you know, you get that power loss. There is a few people who have optioned the performance flywheel and AMR twin plate clutch kit, which obviously will you know, effectively improve your driving performance. But yeah, it's a brilliant car to drive. The manual, I'd say, is definitely the one to have. Oh, almost stalled it then. Yeah, you just got to keep the revs up, otherwise, you know, it does like to stall. But yeah, it's a really lovely car, and you know, you just got to, it's just been a while since I've driven manual, obviously. You've got to be relatively quick with what you do effectively, and you've got to rev match a bit. But it is a really good, lovely car to drive, and you've got that V8 muscle grunt to it as well, and those 6 speeds. But it is really lovely to drive. I've definitely enjoyed it. I've driven it for about two hours now, and or 3 hours, and you know, it is a lovely car to drive. We'll just let it warm up a bit, and then we'll give it a bit of a blast down this road. But yeah guys, we'll just give it a quick bomb here, and yeah, just let it rip basically. Well, it's got quite a bit of a kick to it, being rear wheel drive, you know. It is really good, you know. Well, it's a phenomenal car. Definitely a lot more enjoyable than the sort of DBs I drove. Yeah, really lovely. I got to say, it's very impressive. One thing you'll notice, which is funny, is normally the gear selector counter up here, which is sort of in like an LCD or LED dial, normally shows what gear you're in. The only time it shows you a gear on the manual is when you're in reverse, and it shows it in red. But basically, they basically deleted it. Only in the sport shift cars you can see if you're in drive or first, second or third or so forth. But yeah, that's a bit of a funny thing I noticed. looking for a car to buy, which was, you know, a nice weekend car, this would definitely be it. You know, it is a really usable car, and it is naturally aspirated, so it, you know, you need to get the torque throughout the range, but with enough power, like 400 on these, you know, people complain on the 4.3s they don't really have enough power. You know, this has enough power to back up that torque, if you know what I mean. So you know, it doesn't take a lot of effort really to get big power out of it. But yeah, it is just something which you have to just blip it a few revs, otherwise it will stall sort of, because of a flywheel. But yeah. You can hear the valves sort of open around the 3,000 to 4,000 mark there. Perhaps if you do take the fuse out, like I said, you will get the valves presumably jammed open across the whole RPM range, you know, for a more fruity exhaust. But the sports exhaust definitely elevates that 4.7 litre sound. And yeah, it's really lovely. And you know, you've got the AMI dash, the updated dash, all the Apple CarPlay and stuff. I think overall, it's a subliminal car. The facelift is definitely the one to have. And yeah, hope you guys sort of got a little bit of insight to the facelift Vantage S manual, and thanks for watching.